and we're the weak. I mean, Psalm 91, it talks about these things. Don't fear the terror of night. The Lord will protect you. That's my favorite psalm after this story. Anyway,
we'll come back
to get to the point of this question, and all of a sudden in the distance, we saw light. We saw light, and so of course we started moving forward towards it. It was the only light we could see. And so we started yelling, "Hodi, Hodi, no Messiah, is anybody there? Please help us." That's Swahili. That's Swahili. And we're yelling at the top of our lungs, and nobody's answering. And so we get closer and closer, and we see in the middle of the jungle, we hadn't even seen evidence of human life for 4 hours. And then in the middle of the jungle, there's a fresh fire, embers, just freshly sitting there, and a shelter made up of palm leaves in the middle of the jungle, and a little jug of water sitting there. And so of course, I mean, we collected wood, we fanned these embers into a big fire, and that kept the animals away, and we comfortably slept in this little shelter. And I can't explain that without God. I mean, that's incredible. It's a miracle.
Now the next morning, I'm quoting you here, "Filled with youth and vigor, we were not going to let the mountain defeat us."
That's right.
What you discovered, and this just is really disturbing. It looked like a mountain. What you kept finding was, well, you said they seemed to be reproducing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It was a whole range of mountains.
Yeah, I didn't know that you know, you see a mountain. I'm not an experienced climber. You know, I'm just a zoologist. I'm a little guy from Oshawa. I grew up in Chatham. You know, I don't know anything about mountain. Chatham is the flattest place in the world, I think. And so I've seen a hill before, and so I didn't realize that a mountain actually has many little mountains leading up to it. And so we were climbing up, we were going down, and not only that, but everything in Africa. I mean, not just the animals, but the vegetables. Like, they bite you. They do.
Thorns.
Yeah, sure. Everything in Africa bites you. And so there's as many things growing up as growing across. And so this was the hairiest climb of my life. I mean, we're going on our hands and knees. We're getting cut up. Well, I won't tell you the end of the story yet, but
let me just come back to the dehydration,
Sure.
because before you labeled it, my whole family was listening to the full story as I read it to them at dinner last night. And even my son, who can't wait to leave the dinner table, was saying, "Well, then what? Then what?" Just an amazing story. My husband immediately recognized the symptoms of dehydration. And your friend Byron was in a very, well, he got to the place where his vision was going.
It was.
And he could not walk down that mountain that you climbed.
No. I mean, once we got off the top, we were moving good for a little while. We realized we had to get out. And we were relying on God for everything. And he was moving well at first, and then he started getting slower, then he started getting leg cramps, and to the point where he started collapsing. And just in the full view of the sun, he'd collapse, he'd pass out. And so I tried to push him into shade and wake him up and reason with him. His reasoning was gone. I mean, I said, "Byron, we have to get out of here." He said, "Why can't I just stay here?" And I said, we can't stay in the middle of the jungle. We're weak. And there's predators, and they come out at night. And I don't know that we'll have another fire. And so I said, "We have to get up." And I'd say, "Okay, let's go to this tree." And so he'd get up, and we'd go to the tree, and he'd collapse again.
And yet he mumbled a message of faith.
Sure.
What did he say? He
said, he looked at me. Well, okay. It'll be tough to do on TV, but I'm not looking at you. So for the people on TV, I'm not looking at you. But he said, "Don't worry." He said, "Don't worry, Graydon. We're going to be all right. God will protect us." And I said, "Byron, if you're going to say that to me, at least look at me." And he said, "Graydon, I thought I was looking at you."
He'd lost his vision.
Yeah.
Where did you cry? You didn't cry to God. You screamed at God.
Yeah. I was mad. Well, because earlier in the trip, I lied. We did see a little bit of, I'm sorry. We did see a little bit of water. But
that's right.
It was very early in the trip, and so we were hoping that we might see it again. And we'd climbed many, little mountains, gone down valleys, and I thought for sure this valley had to contain the water. This had to be the one. And so I ran down to the bottom to investigate ahead of Byron. And that's where he saw me, sitting on a big boulder. And I was so mad because there's no water down there. And I said, why'd you bring us? Did you bring us all the way out here to Africa just to finish it here? And then a little fly flew in my eye. Yeah,
And you couldn't
it's
get it
random.
out.
Not at all, no.
And my husband said the reason you couldn't get it out is because your eyes would be dry.
Yeah?
He stuck.
He did stick. It was like, I guess, fly paper. But it was kind of...
So what was the fly?
I have no clue what the fly was, but maybe
It certainly interrupted you.
It did. It was kind of... I was mad, and after that happened, I started laughing. And I think it was God's humor, just saying I'm still with you in the form of a fly in my eye.
You had an idea.
It made sense to me at the time.
You thought about your phone at this point, didn't you?
Yeah. We had a phone, and we didn't have reception. We had a little bit of power, so we had to protect it. But at the very end of the journey, we did get a little bit of reception. So I called my teammate Melissa, and this was the second night. And I said, "Can I let Byron sleep? If he goes to sleep, will he wake up in the morning?" I said, "Research this."
His eyes were rolling back in his head.
He had aged 50 years. He had
also rolled down.
The very last go. Yeah, it was the steepest descent, and there's jagged rocks everywhere. I mean, this is dusk when all the snakes should come out, right? And he couldn't stand anymore, but he trusted me. He said, "Okay, I trust you that we have to get out, but I can't stand." So he put his hands over his ears, he covered his eyes, and he rolled down this descent. 45-minute roll, jagged rocks everywhere, snakes should be everywhere, times where he'd just fall 6 feet at a time.
You should have had a broken leg or two for that run down.
Well, Psalm 91, where it says he'll command his angels concerning you, that they'll lift you up and you won't even, that stones won't even affect you. You won't break your bones. You'll trample the snake and the lion.
I typed this right from your story, and I'm going to read it. It is the framer of this story, isn't it? If you make the Most High your dwelling, even the Lord, who is my refuge, then no harm will befall you, no disaster will come near your tent. For he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. They will lift you up in their hands, so that you will not strike your foot against a stone. Amen. You will not tread upon the lion and the cobra. You will trample the great lion and the serpent. Because he loves me, says the Lord, I will rescue him, Graydon, Byron. I will protect him, for he acknowledges my name. He will call upon me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. With long life I will satisfy him and show him my salvation.
Amen.
What has God shown you besides his mercy in bringing you through this?
Honestly, I mean, what brought us up on the top of that mountain was pride. And what took us down was God. And what he showed me was how big he is. How big he is. That mountain range in the central Tanzania, in the middle of nowhere, that he spoke that thing and he whispered that thing into existence. And that same mountain range was killing, us two fragile humans. What he taught me is how big he is and how small we are. And it gives me confidence, and I'm blessed to think that a God that big would even think to use us in his plan.
We don't have time for all the wrap-up details. There was a clearing. There was a farmer who made you porridge and gave you water and washed the blood off your hands. Best glass of water you ever had.
The greatest.
And I'm just surprised your family didn't insist you come home. You stayed and continued your mission.
Sure.
We have a photograph of Bronwyn and Jordan, your brother and sister, came. And can you even, here's the two guys.
Yeah, that's Byron there, right after the ordeal, before we hitchhiked back into Macomb.
Into the city?
Yep.
What have we got next there, John? We got another picture. There's
my
siblings.
Brother, Jordy. We call him Poopy. That's a little nickname. And there's Bronwyn. And myself on the right, or on the left, sorry.
Your dear parents and your church released all of them to come over and be part of the mission that you had undertaken at the university.
They have a lot of faith. My parents have a lot of faith.
You know what? We're going to have your parents here
to
talk about the parents' heart.
Good.
In what was 11 awful hours waiting for news of you. They didn't think you were going to be coming home. Oh, my heart can't go there. Thank you for your honesty.